Okay, we're going to start on Yud Testament base at the Mishnah. The Mishnah and Yud Testament base, Hashechem min Tzaddim. If you think Hashem is able to enter every day, you're supposed to have learning Hashem to be some English community. So it's like this: Hashechem min Tzaddim. Someone checks from the side of the neck, then Shkitas Kshera. That's going to be kosher. It might look min Tzaddim, but if he does Malika, Malika is hit the fingernail. This will be on the back of the neck. It is only done on the base of English by the Kayan. So then, if he does it on the side, that's Malikas Psul, that's going to be Fasal. If someone checks from the back of the neck, through the spine, then Shkitas Psul. A Malik Menayif, but if he does Malika from the back of the neck, Malikas Psul, then it's going to be kosher. That's the main din. Is Malika is supposed to be from the Eiref. Shechem Minat Zavar, if he checks from the front of the neck, because it's fair. That's the main din. It's supposed to check from the tzavar. Amilas from the tzavar, if it does malika from the front of the neck, malika psula, then that's going to be puzzle. Shakal ayrav kasher malika. The whole back of the neck is kasher malika. Now, what does it mean? The whole back of the neck? We just said the sides are not. So the whole area of the back of the neck, I mean the whole length of it. But tzavar kasher l'shvita. And the whole tzavar is kasher l'shvita. Nimtza, what comes out, the tzavar is the front of the neck. Now, Nimtza, what comes out is kosher b'shkita possible malika. Kosher malika possible b'shkita. What's kosher for this is possible for this. What's possible for this is kosher for that. It's kosher for this. So it's they're mutually exclusive. Okay. My Eiref. You said over here that Hashechet min Eiref is possible. What's the Eiref? You said that malika from the Eiref is kosher. So Ilay Ma'irif Mamish, if you say literally the Eiref, no, the Eiref is the back of the neck, the upper part of like right behind the face. It's not the back of the neck; it's the back of the head. That would be the Eiref. So my area sheikhet. Why are you telling me that sheikhet is puzzle from the back of the head? I feel Malik Nami. Even Malik would be puzzle. Even Malika would be puzzle from the back of the head because it says Mimol Arpai, Amarachman Arpai. It says Mimol Arpai, which means towards the back of the head, which means not the back of the head itself. But the back of the head would be puzzle. So what does the Eiref mean? We say we have Shechem min Eiref. It can't mean literally the back of the head because then Malik would be puzzle. Elamai Eiref, Mul Eiref. Rather, what do we mean? The Eiref, it means towards the back of the head, which means the neck. Tani Seifa, and we can prove this in the Mishnah, because the Mishnah says, Kala Eiref Kashim Malika, the Eiref, the entire Eiref is Kashim Malika. Now, what does it mean, the entire? If it's talking about the back of the head, then there's only one spot. That's the back of it. It's a very small area. You can't say all of that, because it's just one tiny area that's the back of the head. So it must be that it's talking about the neck, which that's longer, especially on a bird. Okay. So we have the pshat over here now in the Mishnah that oirif means the neck, not the back of the head. It means mul oirif. Minani mili. How do we know that that's the pshat? That oirif means towards the back of the head. The Tanur Rabbanan. Stored in the Bryce. Mul arpai. It says towards the back of the head, towards the back of the neck, which arpai. Towards the back of the oirif, which is back of the head, which we said is the neck. Mul harayas oirif. It's the area that sees the back of the head. It's talking about the neck. If you're standing on the neck and look over, you would see the back of the head. You have a pasuk also that says when you use the word mol, yeshiv mimuli. It says that he was it's talking by Balak, talking about the what's it say in the pasuk? The pasuk is what they say. Balak sends um, messengers to Bilam. He says, "Who Yeshiv Mimuli?" That there's a nation that's coming out of the land of Mitzrayim. It's covered the eye of the earth, and it's Yeshiv Mimuli. It's dwelling opposite me. Mamuli means from the opposite me. So Mulayif would mean opposite the back of the head. Another pasuk. There's a pasuk in Yirmiyah. It says, they turn to me their neck, not they turn to me the back of their head and not the face. So we see that the oirif itself means the back of the head as opposed to the face. It didn't say kipano alay oirif alay tzavar. It didn't say they turn to me the back of the neck and not the front of the neck. It doesn't say that. So they turn to me their oirif and not their face. So that would mean that the back of the head as opposed to the face. So we know that oirif means the back of the head. So mul oirif is going to be opposite that. Gemara asks, "My va'ime, why do you have to bring another pasuk to tell me that oirif means the back of the head?" Maybe we can answer like this: that I don't know where the oirif is. The neder mul oirif the I know that mul is not the same thing as the oirif, because mul means towards, which means it's not in the same area. It means if you're standing on it, you'd be able to see it, but it's not the same. It's not the same area. So I know what mul means, but I don't know what oirif is. The pasuk says that they turn to me their back of the head and not their face. That means that the back of the head is exactly corresponding to the face. The oirif is exactly corresponding to the face. It means it's the back of the head. Okay. Amri, then this next statement is going to be discussed in the Gemara for a little bit. Amri b'nei Reb Chiya, son of Reb Chiya. Reb Chiya was a student of Rabbi. His sons, which I think are Yehuda and Chizkiah, they said the following. They said, "Mitzvot malika machzis semanim lacher from Melech." We sort of made this malika a drop easier because malika was the fingernail, and it was going to go through the bone, the bone at the back of the neck, which would be the spine. It would have to cut through the spine. So the Meir of Tia said that the mitzvah malika is not to cut through the spine, but it's to take the front part, which is the trachea and esophagus, pull it over to the back, and then cut it just the fleshy part, but not without breaking the bone. Anyway, that's what it seems to be saying. Ikadamri, those that learned it, that the sons of Pia meant is af matzah. Doesn't mean that if you do break the neck, then it's a problem. No, you could break the neck also. That's the main way of doing it. But af matzah, you could also take the pipes and pull them over to the back and do it like that. Ikadamri matzah dafka. Some say that the Bnei of Pia held, but no, this is the way of doing it. Not to break the neck, and just to take the two simanim, the trachea and the esophagus, pull them over to the back and cut it with the fingernail. So the Gemara says probably the first opinion is more correct. It says that you have different ways of doing it. Mimai, how do you know that? Because the Mishnah says because the shechita from the back of the neck is going to be puzzled. But Moilek from the back of the neck is going to be kosher. Now, if how do you do malika from the back of the neck? You take the simanim and you pull them over to the back, and then you cut the simanim without breaking the neck. If that would be the case, such a case would actually be kosher for shechita as well. He said it's dadim. You shechs in the side of kosher. The only thing is you can't shechs in the back of the neck. But here, you're not breaking the back of the neck, you're just shechting the semanim. So it's sort of like shechting from the side, which you said was kosher. So how are we going to learn this? Where we said that by malika it's kosher, by shechita it's possible. When if this is the case where the only way of doing malika is to pull it over to the back and then to do it like that, then by shechita would be kosher. We have to say that there is another way of doing malika, and that's by breaking the neck. And by breaking through the spine, then that would be kosher for malika, but it would be possible for shchita. Rather, for malika it's taka kosher. Malika it's taka kosher when they break the neck and they go through the spine. And by shchita, that would actually be puzzle. So that's what it means. It's kosher for malika and puzzle for shchita. Now, there would be another case where it would actually be kosher for shchita, and it would be kosher for malika, and that's if there was mahader. If you took the simanim and pulled it over to the back, and you did that, that would be kosher for shchita, and it would also be kosher. Well, okay. Amar Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yanai says, "Yikablu hareven es tzavasam." Let the youngsters get their retort from the following. Tani nimtza kosher b'shchita pasal malika kosher malika pasal b'shchita. Says that what's kosher for shchita, it's going to be pasal for malika. It's mutually exclusive. Kosher malika pasal b'shchita. What's kosher malika is pasal for shchita. It means that you can't have the same action that would be kosher for both. If that's the case, well, so 1 second. Lamuti mai. If you just want to tell me what the Mishnah already said, that the back of the neck is kosher for malika and it's possible for shchita, so we already the Mishnah says that already. So the Mishnah spelled it out. So when you're adding in this klal, so you must be teaching me at least one halacha. My lav, lemuti mai. What are you coming to exclude? Lav lemuti matzisimanim lachereir. If the light, you must be telling me that you're not allowed to take the back of the neck. So you're not allowed to take the simanim, stretch them over to the back of the neck, and do malika like that. The way malika has to work is you have to go through, pierce the spine on the back of the neck and make it through the spine and cut the simanim that way. You cut from the back all the way with the fingernail, all the way straight through. Because if you're going to tell me that you can take the simanim from the front and stretch them over to the back, then that would be a case where it's kosher for malika, if that's kosher for malika. And it would also be kosher for shchita. And the Mishnah says that it's mutually exclusive. So you must be telling me the case where that's what you're doing. And we're saying that even though that would be kosher for shchita, but that would be possible for malika. Okay, that's a kasha on the Bnei Priya. Amar Rabba Bar Bechana says, like, I have another pshat, and we could take away the kasha from Bnei Priya. You know what it's coming to exclude? The muti shein v'si parim. It's coming to exclude that you can't use the fingernail, and you also can't use the tooth. So that's what's come to teach me. We have that already, clearly. The Hedya, it's taught in the Mishnah. Now, Rashi points out something interesting here. There's a version that thinks that it says Shein B'Tzifran Behedik Tanilu in Teres Kayanim. It was taught in the Brisa of Teres Kayanim. The Brisa of Teres Kayanim was a set of halachic midrashim. It's written on Sefer Vayikra, and it's not a Mishnah. It's not it's not in the Shas. It's a separate separate volume called Teres Kayanim, or some call it the Stifra, the Sefer. Anyway, Rashi says that when the Gemara says Behedik Tanilu, we're not talking about those side midrashim that are not quoted in the Gemara. We're talking about the Mishnah. Okay, so Behedik Tanilu. Elam Rabbi Yirmiyah l'mutim melech mevi. You know what we can do to help Bnei Rav? We can say that what's kosher for shchita is possible for malika, and then we say the opposite, even though one of them is the only one that's necessary. But once you say one, you say the other one. So what's kosher for shchita, which means that you're able to melech mevi, you're able to go back and forth with a knife. You can't do that for shchita, for malika. You can't go back and forth. You have to only press down. He says this is actually a machlekes. So according to this would fit with one opinion. But according to the one that says that you're actually by malika, you are allowed to move it back and forth. You don't have to just press downward. So how are you going to learn what's the pshat in the Mishnah where it says that what's kosher for shchita is possible for malika. The Gemara says b'nei Reb Chia savar l'kamadam melech malika possible. It's not a problem because the b'nei Reb Chia don't have to hold like that opinion. The b'nei Reb Chia that hold that you're allowed to take the simanim from the front and pull it over to the back, check it there. And even though that's going to be kosher for shchita, and it would also be kosher for malika, but that's not what the Mishnah is coming to teach me. When it says what's kosher for shchita is possible for malika, what's possible for malika is kosher for shchita. That's not the Mishnah. What the Mishnah is teaching me is that what's kosher for shchita, bailach u'mevi, is possible for malika. That's a machlekes. Don't worry about that because the b'nei Rav Chia hold only like one opinion. Who holds that it's possible for malika to move back and forth. Okay, Amar Rav Kana. Kana says mitzvah malika kaitzitz v'yored zui mitzvah. Rav Kana taught that the mitzvah of malika is to cut and to go down, first press down. That's the mitzvah of malika. Savar Rav Avin l'meimar kaitzitz v'yored melech maybe like. Rav Avin understands from Rav Kana that means that you have to press and you're not allowed to move back and forth. You're not allowed to slice it, to do a backwards and forwards motion. Amrei Rabbi Yirmiyah says to Rav Avin, Koshkin the melech maybe malika kosher for sure. That it's going to be kosher. You can press for sure. You can go back and forth. My zui mitzvasa. So why do you tell me that you have to press? Ema, what I meant to say is af zui mitzvasa. You can also press. Okay, very interesting. According to Rabbi Yirmiyah, you're definitely allowed to go back and forth. And the chiddush over here was that you can even press. I'm Rabbi Yirmiyah, I'm Shmuel. Rabbi Yirmiyah says in the name of Shmuel, called kosher b'shchita, connected by of kosher b'malika. What's kosher for shchita, corresponding to that, on the back of the neck, would be kosher for malika. The Gemara understands that what's Shmuel teaching me. It sounds like the Mishnah. And Shmuel is an Amayra. And Shmuel, to quote the Mishnah and not to add anything, would be a little bit odd. So he has to be telling me a chiddush. The Mishnah already says basically what he said. So it must be that he's telling me a chiddush. Possible b'shtita. But if something's possible for shchita, then it would be possible for malika. It says kosher for shchita, Rabbi Shmuel said, is kosher for malika. So it must be, the chiddush must be that possible b'shchita is possible for malika. You see, kosher for shchita is kosher for malika on the other part. What's kosher over here for shchita is possible here for malika. So what's the chiddush of this? The Mishnah says that you do malika from the back of the neck. So it must be that it's going to tell me that one of the things that would be possible for shchita is also going to be possible for malika. That's really what I wanted to say. It's the implication that Shmuel is teaching me. So, Lamuti Mai, what are you coming to exclude? What's going to be possible? There's a problem. One of the possibilities of doing shchita is that it could pull out one of the pipes from the top where it's attached. You're doing the shchita, you're slicing, but if it somehow grabs it and pulls the pipe out from where it's connected to on top, it's called ikur. So maybe what it means is like this. Maybe by shchita, ikur simanim is a problem. It's going to tell me that ikur simanim is also a problem. If while doing the malika, you end up pulling out, before you finish the malika, the pipe from the top by the head where it's attached to the head. So if you pull out, it's also going to be possible. Problem is, Rami Bar Yecheskel says, that this happens to be that it's not a problem. So how could Shmuel be telling me that this is a problem? This is taught in a brisa quoted by Rami Bar Yecheskel that ein ikar simanim bay, that this is only a problem by an animal, not by a bird. Amar Papa says Lamuti Reishay. Papa says that what Shmuel is saying is that shchita has to be on the neck. If you shech the head by shchita, so that's also gonna be possible from malika. The back of the head is also going to be possible from malika. Well, the Gemara says Reishay. That's you telling me shchita. That I know already. We already learned at the beginning of the Gemara today that it's opposite the back of the head. opposite the Eira, and which means that you can't shecht from the head. You can't shecht on that. You can't do malika on that. Which means opposite, which means by the neck. You're standing on the neck, you look over, you see the head, but you can't do the head itself. So he says, my roisha is shipi roisha. What he means to say is that where the head where it starts to bend. So what would happen is like this. Kigoyin, the nakat mishipa roisha. You started to cut from the top, which is not the right place. And then you went out of the wrong place. You went out of the wrong lane and you went into the right lane, and you started to go with the place where it's properly. Like we learned yesterday from Ravuna Maravasi, that says the Amar Ravuna Maravasi, Higrim Shleish, by Shchita. If you start in the wrong place and you do cut 1/3, and then you swerve back into lane, you go to the right place and you cut the other 2/3, so that's going to be puzzle. That's Ravuna in the name of Ravasi. He says it's puzzle. Telling me the same thing as by Malika. If you start in the wrong place and then you come to the right place, it's going to be puzzle. Amalei Ravacha, Ravashi. Ravacha, the son of Rav, says to Rashi, Haditan Ram, the Cheskel, in the Kisman Bayis, Layamar, Nalamadame, and Shtukale from that Torah. He has, I want to say a chiddush. Rami Bar Cheskel taught that there's no Iker Simonim by a bird. In other words, if you pull it out from the top where it's attached, that's not a problem. So comes along Ravacha, Rav's son, and he says to Ravashi, he says that din of Rami Bar Cheskel was according to one opinion. There's a machlekes if the shechita by bird is minatayra or midirabanan. Or minatayra means halacha l'meshim Sinai or midirabanan. That's that birds need to be shechted. So this that Rami Bar Cheskel taught that there's no halacha of ikar simanim by birds or pulling it out from the place. That's because they hold that shechita by birds is derabanan. That's why they have that lenient opinion that if it pulls out from the top, it's not a problem, because even though that ruins the shechita, but the shechita by a bird is only midrabanan anyway. But according to the opinion that says that you need a real shechita by birds, it's minatayra, which means it's halacha l'meshim Sinai. And Rashi quotes the pasuk that says, it's going to be later on, it says, you should shecht as I commanded you. As I commanded you means that there must have been something that was commanded that wasn't written down. That means that there's halacha l'meshim Sinai regarding shechita. It's taught from the Ibster to Moshe Rabbeinu. All the halachas is halacha l'meshim Sinai. How much has to be shechted and halachas of shechita. So what Rabacha Brei the Rav is saying, that according to the opinion that holds Yeshchita Leichman Torah, then there would be a problem of Iker. If it's halacha l'meshim Sinai, then this would be a real shechita, and you would not be allowed to pull it out. Amalei, Ravashi says back to him, he says, Adirabi, you got it all wrong. It's exactly the opposite. Punkt fakert, right? It's exactly the opposite. If we hold that birds have to be shechted halacha l'meshim Sinai, we could say, Rachi Agmarei, Dein Iker. We have a halacha l'meshim Sinai that Iker doesn't apply to birds. If we say that this traces back to halacha l'meshim Sinai, then we can actually have this special dispensation that birds have a different halacha, and this is coming from halacha l'meshim Sinai. Even if it say that it's similar to an animal, then even if you say that the shechita, the basis for shechting a bird is the same basis for shechting an animal, which means that it's halacha l'meshim Sinai. But so what? The halacha l'meshim Sinai tells me that one of the halachas doesn't apply to a bird, and that's the halacha of ikur. But if we say that the shechting of birds is only rabbinic law, so then so how do I know? Where do I get all the halachas of shechita from? I don't have it by the bird. I have it from the animal, because that's the original law. And I took to that law and I imposed it onto a bird as well. So behema, that's where I got it from. Kol musika behema. So how do you end up with a halacha different by a bird than by an animal? The whole basis is only by the animal, and by the animal I have halacha v'ikar. and the Rabbanan are pulling it over to apply to a bird as well, then the halachas would be the same. And I would not be able to have any different halachas by a bird than by an animal. So what Rava thought that maybe the leniency by the bird, according to Rami by Yecheskel, was because the bird, suckling of a bird is rabbinic law. Rabashi tells him back, it's exactly the opposite. It's because it's Allah Mishim Misini, that's why we can have it different. If it would have been rabbinic law, then it would have to be the same. Amar Ravina, Amali Ravin Bar Kisi. Ravina says that Ravin Bar Kisi told him, Hadatani Rami Bar Yecheskel, Ein Iker Semanim Ba'if, Le'amar Nala Ben Malika. That halacha, that there's no Iker, that is what would invalidate a shchita. Is when the simanim get pulled off from the top. It says that halacha that it doesn't apply to a bird, and by a bird it would be kosher. That's actually not by shchita. By a shchita it would actually be pasul. You pulled it out from the top. By malika it's not a problem. By malika, if you pull it out from the top, that's going to be okay. Aval b'shchita yeshika. Very interesting. Back to Gemara, Rab Yirmiyah Bar Shmuel, Yirmiyah Bar Shmuel, Rab Yirmiyah says the name of Shmuel, Kol HaKosher b'shchita connect the bird of kosher malika. 1 second. He told me that anything that's kosher by shchita is going to be kosher by malika. Pasul. But if it would be pasul, then it would be pasul. Now you just told me that by shchita it's going to be pasul ikar. That would tell me that by malika it should also be pasul. So why are you telling me that there's a difference between ikar by shchita and by malika? They would both be pasul. Where says a hupliga? This statement of Ravin Batisi that says that there's a special halacha by malika, which is different than by shchita, that actually argues on Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar Shmuel. Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar Shmuel says that all the halachas of shchita would be the same by the malika, because this is from the front, this is from the back. Comes along, Ravin Batisi says no, there's a difference. That difference is ikar. That by shchita it's pasul and by malika it's kasher. Amar Zeiri. It's sort of a new Gemara. We'll start it. And we'll have to mention it after Yom Tov when we go over it again. Okay. If the back of the neck of an animal is severed, and the flesh is severed also, and then you want to come and try to do shchita on it, it's not going to help, because even if there still is an area that you can do shchita on, but once the neck is broken with the flesh that's surrounding it, you can't. It's not only is it a treifa, but it's even worse than a treifa. It's a nevela. Nevela, it means that the treifa you could shecht it, and then it doesn't give off impurity, even though it was going to die. But the shchita is metaher. The shchita makes it pure. If someone comes in contact with it, it touches it, it won't become tameh. Nevela, there's no solution for that. Nevela is it's already considered a carcass, and you can't really shecht the carcass. It's already dead. It's not gonna purify it. So you see, Eri's claim is that once the back of the neck is broken, together with the majority of the flesh that's surrounding it, it's an avela, and the shchita is not going to help purify it. Amar Rav Chisda says, "Afana nami tanina." Thank you very much, Eri. But we learned it already in a Mishnah or Brisa. It says malach b'sakin. If you did malika with a knife, tamim begadim abesabliya, that's going to be considered an avelas oif tahar. We're calling it a nevela. We're talking about a bird because we're dealing with malika, right? So it's a bird, and it's a nevela. It's a kosher bird that became a nevela. The special halacha of nevela seiftar, a kosher bird that became a nevela, that it gives off impurity only through swallowing. The person becomes tummy, his clothing becomes tummy. If he swallows a drop of this nevela kosher bird, kosher not as in kosher teeth, but kosher means the type of bird is kosher. It's a pigeon or something, a dove, which is a kosher bird. So he says, okay, the treifa, if you would say that it's a treifa, that if you do malika with a knife, or rather, if the back of the neck is doesn't make an avela, it only makes a treifa. So malikasa zui shchitasa. Then the malika would be the shchita. The hani lasakin, the tarim in the avela. So what would happen is like this: that once the back of the neck is broken, so then the knife. What's the back of the? Then the knife would be considered a shchita. If we would say that the back of the neck being broken just makes it a treifa, then the knife would be a shchita, and it won't be an avela. So it has to be that breaking the back of the neck together with the flesh is an avela and not a treifa. And he's basing this on the Mishnah that says malak besakin is a nevela. Why should it be a nevela? It should, if it's only a treifa, then the sakin that now cuts the simanim after the neck is broken, that would be a shchita, would be mitaret from being a nevela. The Gemara says no. No, that's not considered a shchita at all. So it's not even if you would say that even if you would say that it was a treifa, not even say it's a treifa. You're going to say it's a nevela, but if you would say it's a treifa, and you're going to think that maybe a treifa you can still continue to shech, but this shechting with the knife from the back of the head is not even considered a shchita that would be mitared even if it was a treifa. In other words, that's not a proof that the neck being cut is considered an avela, because it could be a treifa, but you still don't have a shchita. So then when it dies, it's an avela because you did nothing to be mitared. Okay. My timer. Why do we say that it's not a shchita at all? What's wrong with this? So, two opinions there. Rav Huna Amar Neshu Machlid. Now, Machlid is when you don't see the knife going in. Now, what happens over here is like this. Normally, when you do a shchita from the front of the neck, start to shech, the tension of the neck pulls it open. So the blade is always visible because the tension pulls the neck apart. And as you're cutting, it's separating as you're cutting. So you can still see the knife. If you're cutting through the back of the neck, now we're thinking that we have a huge knife, but it's possible that a shechita has a very small knife, a very thin knife, like a razor blade, a small knife. You can shech like that because it's just a bird. It's possible that because the neck the spine wouldn't have the same tension, that it would pull apart because it's a bone. It's not it's not just the flesh that's under tension. So when you're cutting, you're going to end up cutting in a way where you're not going to see the blade going in. The blade's going to be hidden it's going to be concealed as it goes in. Now, halada means like a weasel that hides itself when it tunnels under. So Rav Huna says that why is it not a shchita cutting from the back? Neshul machlid. Rava neshul deiris. Rava says it's not a shchita because you pressed when you had to cut through the knife. Mandam neshul machlid when you had to cut through the neck. The one that says it's machlid, my time alone neshul deiris. Why didn't you say like Rava that says that that it was because of pressing? Because of a malika kasha. It says who said he pressed? Maybe it went back and forth, but you told me it's malika. It says no. Malika, talking about over here, Malika with the knife, and we're saying that it's a nevela. We're saying, why is it maybe he went back and forth. He says, no, he holds, not maybe went back and forth. Why doesn't he say the problem with it is it's like Rava says, because he holds that you're allowed to go back and forth by Malika. And so therefore the problem clearly wasn't recent because maybe he moved it back and forth. It has to have another problem. So he says the problem is because it's halada, because it's concealed, the blade is concealed in the neck, in the spine, as it's cutting through the spine. According to Rava, my time alarm is why doesn't he say what the other opinion said, which was Rav Huna, that says that it's being hidden in the neck and you can't see it, because the halach is you have to see the knife as it's cutting. He says, what's considered halada? It says, I know it doesn't separate, but it's not the way a weasel hides in the tunnels and in the under the house. That's not what we're saying over here. Here we're saying that it is cutting through and it's not separating. But the fact is that you can see the knife going in. It's not halada. Okay. Let's leave it over here. Let's leave it by Amar Rava. Okay. Have a good Yom Tov, everyone. Okay.
Have a good Yom Tov. What's the story for Sunday?
Let's see. Sunday. I'm on 9 at 7.
I don't know. I know I'm
Can we
on
do?
a flight on Sunday, so I'm not
Sorry.
even sure what's going to. I'm going to be on a flight on Sunday, so I'm not sure exactly where. But
Usually
but
Sunday we were doing 6:30. We were doing. Well, Sunday we were doing at 6.
6, right?
We're doing 6 to 7:30.
Right.
6 is going to be hard for me. Let's do Sunday at 7. All right.
Okay, I might be on a flight. We'll see. Okay, and
Okay.
the rest of the week?
Rest of the week will be 7:30. After the
Okay, so the whole week's going to be 7:30.
Yeah. I'm going to continue at 7:30. I'm going to be on Zoom, but we'll try to continue 7:30.
Rabbi,
Okay.
if you do Sunday at 6, so it's 7. Minyan starts at 8 o'clock, so it won't be an hour and a half unless you're saying
We won't have enough
that
time.
it depends. A lot of us go to 8 o'clock minyan,
Uh-huh.
get morning early as
Okay.
opposed to then
So what do you
having
want to do?
to wait.
6:30.
I would rather do 6:30. I don't know if you're
Let's do
looking
6:30.
for a
Let's do
vote.
6:30. Okay.
Okay, I'll send it out
Okay.
with a new avatar. I know
Ah,
you didn't see the one that went out. Keep it like that.
okay. Yeah. Very
See ya.
creative.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good. And good Yom Tov, everybody.
Good Yom Tov.
Okay.
Good Yom Tov,
I can't
everyone.
hear so well. I don't know why. I hope you were able to hear me. I can't hear so well.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we heard good.
Okay.
Okay. And by the way, Rabbi, the word mul means opposite.
Mul means opposite. What did I say? Towards?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. No
Okay.
problem.
Okay,
Okay.
Shakaya.
Close.
Okay.
Chag Sameach.